We're back with part 5 of our Grungy Vintage Junk Journal series. And so far we've crafted this cover. We've handpicked materials for the inside and built our signatures. Now in part 5, we're going to add some artsy interest to the signature base. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So if you've missed all the previous parts, you can find a playlist with all the episodes linked down below this video in the description box. And if you remember, in the previous part, I mentioned that I would rather have 2 or 3 signatures than 1, but I only had an odd number of double pages. So I had 7 at the end of the video, and I decided to add 1 more, so that now I have 2 signatures with 4 pages each. So let me just give you a quick flip through of what it looks like now. So this is the new double page that I have added. I just used an old file folder to cut out these tag shapes and attached them to each other with 2 more pieces of this treasure hunt fabric by Marsha Dorsey. One is upright, the other one is upside down. I love the variation of the fabrics on the pages. So that's one signature, and then the next one is here. I also love the variation of page height and width. And there's our other set of tags. I just love how this grunge turned out by coincidence. Couldn't have planned that any better. So that's signature 2. And I think this should be a good amount for this journal. Obviously, this is going to grow. So now let's take these out again and start adding some interest to the pages and grunge them up a bit more. I'm working on my mixed media mat. You can work on any surface. And I'm obviously going to have to take these signatures apart again. And I'm going to do multiple pages at a time. And I'm going to start by adding some coffee. So this is the same coffee mixture I would use for dyeing my papers. I do not have measurements for you. It's different every time. I just use the cheapest instant coffee I can find, add water to it, dissolve it, keep it in my refrigerator for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't add anything else to it, and it keeps for a really long time. So I'm just going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to apply it to my pages. So on some, I think I'll just do some splatters. On some, I will actually paint some coffee on. We want grunge, we want artsy, we want them to look different. All the materials of this vintage ephemera is going to act differently. And I will also add some to my fabric, which is why I wanted to add the fabric before I start adding more color or grunge to them, because the fabric needs to get some of that as well. Some of them I will just drip. So this is where you can just kind of go crazy, have fun, get messy. Don't overthink it. I think the more random, the better. And I might have to apply several layers because this mixture isn't very dark. I could also just add some more coffee to my mixture here. I will dry these with my heat gun. So these are dry. If you can wait for them to air dry, I think that would be better. You would probably get darker effects. But since I'm making a video, I don't have time for that. So you can see here on the light papers, it looks awesome. I'm not sure how the purple got here. I can only imagine that because I was drying some of the splatters on the side with this dirty cloth, that some of it got on here and had some purple on it. I'm completely happy with that. Then we have this one. I love these splatters here. This is also really nice. We can't see it so well on the dark paper, obviously, but it is there. And then we have this one here. It shows up very nicely. I'm not going to get attached to any of this because most of it is actually going to be covered up later with decorations. But I do want my base already to be grungy because of course we will have areas that are peeking out. So I'll do the same thing for the back side. Another thing you can do, which looks really cool, which is something I love doing for my regular coffee dyed papers, is just adding some of your coffee granulate into the puddles. That will give you a super cool effect. Definitely add to the grunge. And then you can spray it with some water or coffee, doesn't matter. Just spread it out a little bit. And then you can move it around and you see that gives it a much darker color. Yeah, I should have done that with the other sides as well. So I think I'll go back and do that. So I've added the coffee granulate to all of the pages, front and back. Let me show you what they look like once they have dried. So this is quite grungy now. Obviously, if you don't want your pages this grungy, then you just leave out the granulate and you just do the first step that I did with painting and dripping on the coffee. One thing to mention is that wherever you have intense coffee, you will have this shine. So just be aware of that. If you're not a fan of that, then maybe don't do it. I also don't know that this is going to be the right order of the pages. I just put them together randomly now so that we can get a feeling for what it could look like later. But since this is an artsy journal, I also want to add a bit more color because I think grunge and color actually go together very well. One does not exclude the other, in my opinion. I'm going to be using my distress sprays. These are all oxide sprays. But no worries if you don't have any sprays. You can just use either watercolor, acrylic paints, water-soluble wax pastels, anything that's water-soluble will do. So again, we're going to get messy, so I need to wear my gloves. So I'll take these apart again. Let's start off with something subtle like weathered wood. And I'm not going to spray on them, although it would look really cool to spray through some stencils. But I want to first try just adding it with the nozzle to have it kind of like drip. And then we'll probably have to add some water to make it drip. I am happy with that. So that can dry. And we can start with another one. I might as well mop this up with another page. Let's try some rusty hinge on this one. So same thing, Just want to add a bit here. And I also want to add some on the fabric. Very artsy, don't you think? So this can go off to the side. Again, let's mop up some of this gorgeous color. Love it. I'll add some more here. So you just play around with it, basically. You'll get all messy. Gorgeous. What's our next color? How about some salvaged patina? Beautiful turquoise. You could, of course, also just add your pigment to your surface and dip the cards in, but I wanted this drip action, so that's why I'm not doing it. I love it. Let's do that on this side as well. Moving on with our second signature, let's mop this gorgeous salvaged patina up. And let's add some Uncharted Mariner. Oh, I love how we can just get some lines. Look, that looks really cool. I'm not even going to add any water to that, just here on the watercolor paper. Just like that. And then we can mop up some of that with this side. Maybe add some water. Okay, that one is good to go. Let's try some Stormy Sky. I'm just loving this scratchy effect. So cool. There we go. I just love how this drippage looks. It looks super artsy. One thing I want to mention about the coffee, the great thing about that is it will not mix with the oxides, because coffee acts like the watercolors. Once it's dry, it's going to stay where it is, and that's a really cool property. Let's try some pumice stone. This is my newest color. I have most of the neutrals, but I didn't have this one, and I love it because it's such a warm gray. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. Let's just do both sides. Oops, see, almost knocked that over. And then this is our last one. On this one, I'll again add some salvaged patina. That combination, oh my goodness. That evokes pure joy in my heart. But I think my favorite part is still here on the fabric. How amazing. Okay, so I will dry these and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So let me give you another flip through what it looks like now with all the distress stains on the pages and the fabric. So it's gotten even more grungy and artsy. If you don't like the dark grunge, you could of course also just do the colors. That would give it a completely different look. It would look super artsy. Love these so much. Again, this is probably not the order they will go in. So we're done with the messy part. And now I want to add some marks. So once again, I will take these apart. And then I'll just take a regular pencil and I'll start maybe with some faux writing. I'm not very good at this, but it's okay. It's a mark. Something's there. We could also just do like circles. There's so many things we can do. We could just do triangles. just a little something. Let's add some more writing. Again, we don't know which parts are going to be visible in the end. Probably going to cover up most of this. So it's really important not to get attached. Don't think too much, just have fun. We could also just do some scribbling. Probably even better to do that with your non-dominant hand to get some more interesting lines. Oops. Because you have, of course, a lot less control this way. Kind of hard to see on this dark background. Again, let's try some writing. My non-dominant hand this time. Okay, it's mark making. We can just do some lines. I do think I like the scribbling best, like the faux handwriting. Turn the pencil. Oh, why don't we try to draw like a leaf or like a stem with leaves with our left hand? That will hopefully turn out artsy. The most important thing really is to just have fun. Let's try another leaf flower thing. Kind of like the double lines. That looks actually quite nice. I'll do the same for the second signature. And once I have all my doodles done, I'm going to add some stamping. Now these are just background stamps, so I'm not going to want perfect impressions. I'm going to use this scripty one. I know it's by Tim Holtz, but I don't know which set it's from, unfortunately. If you know which set it's from, maybe you could kindly add a comment so that other viewers can find this if they want to. I have these very fun stitched circles. I wish I could tell you where this is from. I've had it for ages. I keep forgetting that I have it. Maybe if you just search for stitched circle stamps, you will find it. I don't even know if it's still available. I think it's a super fun stamp, and I never use it because I never think of it. Then I have this set here, Tim Holtz. It's the Field Notes set, which also has a lot of fun numbers. And lastly, I also have this set that I bought locally. It's by the company DJeco. Not sure how to pronounce it correctly. And I love this. It's like a birthday set. And I love it because it has these grungy numbers here. So go through your stamps, see what might work as a background stamp. I'm going to use archival ink in jet black. If you want your stamping to be more in the background, maybe you would rather choose a brown or a gray or some other color that's not going to stand out as much as a black. Or you just do a second generation stamp, meaning you stamp it once on something else and then stamp it a second time on your project. But I like the contrast. I want to see my stamps, so I'm going to do them in the jet black first generation. I actually want to start with this fun one here. I'm wearing my gloves again because I always manage to get the ink on my fingers, and of course it's archival, so it's going to stay there really well. So cute. I think I'll be adding a lot of these to a lot of the pages. Okay, so here, this is second generation, so you see it's a lot lighter compared to this one. Let's try the smallest one. Something else that would be really cute is, of course, some hand stitching. Obviously not through the envelope pages, but through the ones that only have a single layer. That would be really fun if you have the patience. Probably should not put this on every page, but they're just so cute. Let's try the biggest one. What I'm just noticing now, how cool, is that it actually has pretty much the same stitching that I have around here. So remember, I went around these 3 times, twice with a running stitch and once with an alternate running and zigzag stitch. And this is pretty much exactly what this stamp has. That's so cool. And it even shows on the fabric. Super fun. You can't even tell which one is stamped on, which one is on the fabric originally, and which one is actually sewn. That is so fun. Next, I'm going to use my script stamp, and I changed my mind. For the script stamp, I don't want it to have such a strong contrast, so I will take Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide, which will be a lot more subtle. And I don't need an acrylic block because I just want partial stamping, so I'll just kind of roll it. Yeah, that is very subtle. I can hardly see it here, but that's perfect. And in this case, I'm not worried about the direction. So I added some of the script to every page. And now I'll start adding my numbers, and for those I do want the jet black ink. I want them very visible. All of these steps are of course much easier to do before you sew your signatures into the journal. It could look fun to repeat a number, like here I stamped it 3 times. And then I also want to have the year somewhere. I hope we'll see this in the end. Again, there's no guarantee. And I think it's also fun to add the year of an ephemera. Obviously, I don't know what year this is from, but I'm going to say it's from 1960 because why not? It's very wonky. That's totally fine. There are so many more things you could add to your pages to make them your style. Basically, the sky is the limit. You could add texture paste. As I mentioned, you could add some hand stitching, some machine stitching, acrylic paints, anything you want. All of these little steps, all of the layers bring our journal to life a bit more. So stay tuned for the next chapter in this crafting journey. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.